What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another time lapse in Planet Coaster. It's been a while since we've done the last time lapse. In fact, I don't really remember last time we did one, but we are back with it. And this time we're doing a cool project that I had in mind. I wanted to see how realistic of a coaster I could actually make, and I thought it would be cool to choose RMC, which is Rocky Mountain Construction, as you know. I thought, yeah, let's do a hybrid coaster, see what good I can do. So immediately you can see me starting off the bat. I did one of their world famous pre-lift sections, which is just basically these super silly, quirky airtime hills that are, like 2 foot off the ground, and they're really fun to ride. But it's just something to get your heart pumping a little bit before the actual start of this 200-foot hyper with a near vertical drop. Yeah, I just thought, yeah, let's try one of these, and you can see me going right into it. The drop on this coaster was honestly the hardest part of making it, and the reason why is because I haven't really done many RMCs in Planet Coaster. I've done maybe like 2, one of which was Remington, and that was a completely different drop than what I have here. That was a 0G down drop, and it honestly was a little custom drop that I made. So I kind of just skipped that part because I spent probably an hour on that drop. You'll see it later as we fly through the time lapse. But yeah, the shaping is really weird because it takes a while for it to hit its max angle. So you kind of just it's a very slow, gradual descent. And then you pull up, I would say, rather quickly because you have to, have time without crushing forces. So this next element was actually really fun to make. I took inspiration from Hyperion, I can't remember the name of it, but it's this roller coaster in the UK, actually Thorpe Park, and it has this super weird outer banked airtime hill, but that airtime hill turns into like a 0G down drop, or like a barrel roll down drop, almost a death roll inspired by Iron Gwazi. So that's what this element is, but I put it on a RMC. I thought, yeah, this could be a cool element. So it does an outer bank and then keeps twisting and goes into an inversion, which is really cool. It works perfectly and it looks really good off-ride. So I thought, yeah, let's do one of these, and it turned out pretty good. So something more about this layout. I was messing around with just the RMC prototype in the Planet Coaster, and I thought, well, I want to incorporate a couple elements. I want to incorporate, of course, this element, a drop with a truss, which, as you can see, I've placed one already there. Not mine, I just want to see what it would look like, and I was like, yeah, let's use that. I'll just make my own custom one, which you'll see later I've started to do. And then I wanted to incorporate a new element that I made called a V-roll, which is basically a barrel roll, but once you get halfway through the element, it snaps the other direction to where it has this V shaping, and it looks really cool. I actually posted a short on that if you want to go watch that, just so you can see what this looks like. And yeah, it's pretty cool, and I imagine the forces would be insane. I wanted some standout element, and yeah, I think I accomplished that. You'll see that later. Something that I always do with my coasters is do the brake run almost first, just so I can see where the end of this coaster is and how I can maybe get there. So normally I'll draw out my roller coasters on a piece of paper to where I follow the layout exactly, but this time I actually didn't do that. I kind of just was going with the flow, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I literally just did the brake run first, plotted out a point, and then now we go back to where I started, which was the end of this roll that I was talking about earlier. Another thing that gave me trouble with this coaster was I underestimated the speed of this thing, and I made almost all of my pull-ups way too tight, resulting in probably 5 Gs. So I had to go back and reprofile them. I had to just shape them completely to where you would hit, the 3G mark instead of 5 Gs. Because 5 Gs, it's survivable, but I don't think RMC trains can withstand those forces. Maybe other different manufacturer trains, but not RMC trains. And honestly, I don't think the human body can really withstand that many forces on an iBox track. So it's been done before, but very, very rare. So, you might as well keep in that 3G mark. I think the ride does hit 4 Gs for a split of a second on this specific pull-up. that's really it, and that's really the most crushing forces that are on this ride. Like I said, I wanted to keep this as realistic as possible, so you gotta keep in mind everything, like the forces, the speed. Those forces also include the laterals, which is something I never really paid attention to, but I had to for this coaster. Now we actually skip ahead to a part of the layout that is one of the more important parts, and this is the stall that passes next to the lift hill. I went ahead and skipped to that part in my building process, so I jumped ahead just so I could get the shaping of this thing down in the placement, and then what I was going to do is I was going to build up to it and have everything then flow flawlessly into it. So yeah, I jumped to the stall, took inspiration from Zadra at Energylandia, and right here you can see me just struggling with all the shaping and everything. I wanted it to have some whip to it, but also not anything crazy because you're still moving like 50 miles an hour here. I was like, wow, that you're still moving that fast. That's kind of crazy. So yeah, I had to be very careful with all that. I thought I was going to bank under the lift hill after that, but then I was like, yeah, screw that. It's going to be too hard, and I deleted all that. I took the supports off like most of these stalls do. The actual lift hill supports it, so I took those off. I'll support that later, and then I actually redid this entire thing about 5 times, but I only included once of the redo. I just simply unbanked it, did not touch the side-to-side action at all. I just unbanked it, then went for a pull-up, and I thought, you know what, let's throw in a solid airtime moment here after the stall, because we don't really have any good, decent, just normal ejector airtime. We have that outer bank, but that's really it. So I went ahead and threw this airtime here. I did also put a catwalk on this airtime hill, which is interesting because I did that a lot on this coaster. As you'll see in the future, any really straight piece of track that is just a straight airtime hill, I went ahead and just threw a catwalk on it. And I took inspiration from Hakukai from Japan, I think is where it is. I don't really know, but it's the white RMC that has the blue track that honestly looks really good. And it has a bunch of catwalks alongside of it. I thought, you know, that looks pretty cool. It also is a great RMC from what the layout looks like. So I was like, yeah, we'll take inspiration from that. So immediately following that airtime hill, we dive back down, which is next to this initial brake run after the station. It kind of is a slow start and next to those bunny hills. And I went to the outside of it, and I thought, yeah, let's throw in a Iron Gwazi level wave turn here, which is this super snappy like element, which you're banking to the right and then you immediately snap to the left with a little bit of pull on it. So if you look from above, it looks like that wave turn shape. But the more airtime thing that gives you is literally just the snap of this element. And then it unsnaps you to the right again, where you bank again to the right. And as you can see here, that shaping, it's a little wave turn-y in a way, but it's more based on that snap, which will throw you to your side, giving you sideways airtime, which is why it's a wave turn. We then bank down to the right, and I just enter this super heavy bank, which is, I think, the second most G-heavy element on this coaster, other than the valley on the drop, of course. And yeah, I also went back and changed some of the shaping of this wave turn because it was honestly, it was too whippy. I had the train run through it and it went through like at -3 laps or something like that. I was like, okay, that needs to be changed. So I went ahead and fixed that, and then as you can see me just redoing everything here. Didn't really reshape it, I just kind of reprofiled everything and got everything to where I was happy with the forces to where it didn't kill someone. Then I went into this really cool snappy left turn element, which I was going to put an airtime hill here, but I was like, nah, we're going to pass over the brake run that way. So I went ahead and just banked it to the left here. And a lot of RMCs have that snappy element. I also just kept jumping back between the first half of this layout and the second half. Remember when I jumped ahead to the stall, I kind of skipped a bunch. So this is me redoing that in between the first element and that stall, which this is just a little wave turn thing. It doesn't give airtime. It's more inspired by kind of Iron Rattler's first wave turn, where it's on top of the quarry wall, and then it banks down. You then unbank from here and enter, I cut this part, but you enter another wave turn inspired element. I wanted there to be a lot of just wonky elements on this coaster that gives it some standout from all the other RMCs, so I put in these really strange elements. And then I went ahead and connected the two, which you'll see here in a minute. I'm just realigning stuff right here, but yeah, we connect the stall and the first half of this coaster, which took a lot of work, and I had to end up just reprofiling and just redoing the first half of the stall because they weren't matching up, and which was one of the most annoying parts of this build, which nothing lined up. So I just, as you can see here, I just went, screw it, let's just redo this. And so that's what I did. I would also like to mention the color scheme that I chose here. I was just playing around with the colors in the Planet Coaster, and I thought, man, this kumquat like orange color looks really good. And then I thought, well, it needs some like background to it in a way, and so I went, what if we take inspiration from Wildcat's Revenge black supports or like black cross beams? And I tried it and was like, oh yeah, that looks really good. So if you like the color scheme, comment below, because I think it looks really good. It would be a really, really cool just like thing walking up to this coaster and be like, man, that looks majestic. By the way, here's that really cool snappy left turn that I put here the first half, and then it enters almost a double down in a way, because you come down off that and then hit another airtime hill. It's not really a double down because you don't really get airtime on the first thing, but it has the shaping of a double down. And then we enter probably the like second coolest inversion, and this is actually inspired by Untamed at Wallaby Holland, where it does an upwards barrel roll, but then it unbanks and does the upwards barrel roll back down again. But it's not a 0G roll because it doesn't do a full 360 degree rotation. It stops at 180 and then goes back the other way. So it almost like is an unfinished roll in a way. So it's not a 0G roll, and I guess you could consider it a stall of some sort, because it stalls out at the top for a little bit and then you dive back down and unwhip, which is a really cool element. And then we're inside these two first elements, and I needed some way to turn around the coaster, so I thought, well, let's just stay alongside this first element that I built. And I went through the support structure with an airtime hill, banked to the right, and then stayed relatively close to the side of it, as you can see here, with the wood on the side of you. We threw in a couple other airtime moments like this outer bank little pop, and then again bank to the right. And then I threw in another really cool snappy right turn. And this is like almost all RMCs, when they start to get a little closer to the finish, they'll stay lower to the ground and do a bunch of like little airtime pops and then these really small tight turns. And normally they're over banked, so you have the support truss over you. And so I thought I'd do that here. Now we're passing back over the drop, so I threw in an airtime hill so that you could get some space between the drop and that element, just so you don't chop your head off. And then here comes that V roll that I was talking about earlier, which is, it has that V shaping, which is a barrel roll, but it doesn't finish the barrel roll. It stops at 180 and then unbanks the other way. So it's not a continuous roll. But the forces are actually really cool, and it has this nice V shape to it, and it looks really cool offline. Again, I posted a short on that if you want to see that. Next, I went into another snappy left turn, which again, inspired by all the RMCs that are out there. This one actually puts more verticals on your body because I turned it really sharp. Again, I'm messing with the brake run here. I always skip ahead to the brake run and then between the end of this layout, just so I can get a sense to where this layout is going, just so I don't end up in a dead end. So I started at that end point and built a little further, and then I switched back to the end of this layout and started, building again. So I threw in more airtime hills and finished this thing up. And yeah, that was the layout. I'm deciding, I think I want to break this whole series into like 4 episodes. This first episode was the layout. The next episode you can expect like maybe smoothing and then maybe some like truss work to make this coaster look a little better visually appealing. And then next would be queue work and station work, and then the final episode can be like, just scenery and stuff. And yeah, so that's it. And here's a little roll of just what the layout looks like right now, not in time-lapse, so you can actually get a little break from your eyes. But yeah, that's it for the episode. I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next one, which should be coming out pretty soon. And I'll catch you on the next one. Keep on coastering.